Just a minute. Maybe I need 10 minutes. Sometimes 10 minutes can seem like a really long time.
But I really wanted to hear you. I'm glad to hear you. Can you believe that?
Good. I'm glad to hear you too. It's finally going to stop being 1,000 degrees here. The clouds are gathering and it's thundering and it's going to rain. I love the rain because I have a melancholic personality, I think. They say
can you please just recalculate 1,000 degrees into Celsius?
I don't know. I think I can do that, but it's been excessive heat warnings. People have been going to cooling shelters. Roads are buckling. It's I don't know, like what, 46 Celsius, 44? I'm not sure.
How can you stay hydrated? Do you drink beer or I don't know, water, mineral water? How?
No, I'm just drinking all the time. I mean, first of all, if you go someplace, like you go to the grocery store, you go to meet some friends, you have to get in your car, which is overheated. You turn on the air conditioner, which is blowing on you. You get out of your car, so you're sweating all the time. Or even if you go to somebody's swimming pool, it's so hot. So yeah, I'm just drinking all the time. Like I have a couple glasses of water when I wake up in the middle of the night and I drink water, or I'll drink lemonade or coffee. I'll make like a jezbe of some coffee, but later I'll pour it over milk and make it like kind of an ice cream thing. Yeah, I'm literally drinking all the time.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, that's how it should be. Can you, not that I remember, but still, can you remind me of who is the governor of Texas?
Ted Cruz.
Is he any good? Not that I am any good or trying to compare myself to him, but still, is he any good, in your opinion? If you're not comfortable talking about politics, just say it outright. I will again.
Well, he just signed into law for all of Texas a bill that says to the bosses, when you have workers working outside for 4 hours, you do not have to give them a 10-minute break. You do not have to provide them with water. So this is a governor who spends his time dehumanizing people. A year or so ago, there was a huge blizzard that came through Dallas. There was no electricity for days. He got on an airplane and went to Florida on vacation. He's irresponsible, he's arrogant, and he will probably be reelected because Texas is all about big business, discrimination, hypocrisy, guns, violence, drugs.
Okay, I'm not going to talk about politics again because maybe you're not comfortable. You just don't want to admit it, or maybe you'll ask me something.
I am comfortable. I was mentioning in another episode. I was shocked to see that the governor signed into law. Who would waste their time making a law to say that workers who work outside do not have to, after 4 hours, have a 10-minute water break, and the boss should provide water? Like, who has time? So like, I'm always comfortable. I'm very comfortable. And I feel like, I really feel like our topic, 10 minutes, 10 minutes is a nice little break after 4 hours. Like, do you get to take 10-minute break where you work?
Absolutely.
So I just feel like it's kind of a slap in the face of people that work outside. That means landscapers, construction workers, people working at amusement parks, policemen on the street. It's, I think that's sad because I have a car, it's air conditioned, I have money, I can go sit with friends and drink beer, I can go inside an air conditioned museum. And I'm sort of miserable this summer. The heat is really oppressive. And I just try to find places I can go that only takes me 10 minutes. Like I met up with some friends on Saturday. We went to a community garden. We went to a farmer's market. But after like 10 minutes, we're sweating, where everybody's sweating. And it's not a pleasant sweat. Like when you go to the beach, you go to a resort, that's pleasant, because you can go back inside to a resort hotel. But, well, anyhow, have you been sweating, or is it raining, or what's the weather like where you are?
Oh, I've been sweating a lot. I actually, you know what banya is? Banya is a Russian bathhouse. And you're like having 70, 80 degrees in Celsius. I'm not sure how much that would be in Fahrenheit, but
Yeah.
multiplied by 2, I guess 140 maybe. No, not that. Don't take my words for face value, but yeah, and I liked it a lot. Every weekend I go to my summer house because I practice one day in a week in silence. I just don't talk to anyone. I also don't have any of my headphones in, and that helps me tremendously. Because first day is a torture, to be exact. Because the energy I keep with me from the big city is different from what you have in the wood, and it tortures you. I don't know how it works, but it does a torture. It is a torture.
Oh, yeah.
Second is a little bit better. Yeah, and then I have to go back because Monday is a work day. But yeah, I sweat a lot because I use that banya. I don't know if you ever been in banya, probably not, but I'm sure.
I have. A lot of the fancy YMCA's, they have saunas where it's generally separate for men and separate for women. You go and you sit inside, and it's a hot, steamed room, and you sit there and kind of talk with people, and you can go in with a bathing suit on or not. There's private clubs you can go to that offer massage afterwards. I've been to bathhouses in Turkey. There's very, very famous ones up in the mountains of Mount Uludağ. You go skiing, and then after the skiing, you go into it's called hammam, like a Turkish bathhouse. And it's not like creepy weird. It's, swanky, attached to a hotel, and you can get a wonderful massage, and you go for drinks. But yeah, I think that, and there's also yoga studios here in Dallas, and some of them are called hot yoga. So the room is actually heated up, and you do your routines with your teacher, and the purpose is to sweat through the various positions. Now, I would never, ever choose hot yoga, even if it was cold, because I'm not into that. But I did take a class a couple years ago. It was in a very wealthy part of town in Highland Park. It was a YMCA, which was, in a very fancy part of town. And it was like the room was really big. It had a wooden floor. The specific teacher I had very dim lighting, really, and like a chanting music that would come on. She'd put on this chant music like dong, 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 like this kind of chant music.
Like the middle-aged monk, right?
Yeah, and then after you do your yoga, she would give you these blankets to wrap up with and lay on the floor. Like, I did not want to get into some like old blanket that some dude sweated in, last week. So I just skipped that, and I dropped her class because number one, I didn't want to sweat in the dark. And number two, I don't want to be wrapped in a blanket that somebody else was just in.
Yeah, but, I'm kind of allergic to other people's sweat as well. I've developed awareness, not that I'm afraid of it. I've just developed awareness. But so I have my own banya, and the only person that sweats here is me. I'm not.
Great.
Yeah, and well,
supposedly sweating. I never, when I first, I know we have different organs in our body. There's the brain, there's the liver, there's the esophagus, all these various parts of our body. But I didn't realize that our skin was an organ, and its purpose is to cool the body temperature, and also to not exhale, but to send out toxins. So when you're sweating, if you ever tasted, like your forehead. You wipe your hand on your forehead and you put your hand on your mouth. Most of us have kind of a salty, or I don't know what everybody's sweat tastes like, but I guess sweat sort of has a little bit of a salty taste to it. So I think that the purpose of sweating is to get rid of toxins in the body, and to keep the natural sweat is just to keep the body cooler.
Do you have like your own water bottle, like maybe reusable metal one that helps remind yourself to drink water regularly?
Oh, it is like a religion in Dallas. Water bottles, they are all different. Just like cars and watches, like, there's Mercedes, there's Jaguar, there's Peugeot, there's all the different brands. Well, with water bottles, it is like a status symbol. There are so many different types of water bottles that people have. And, you have to have certain kind of yoga pants and certain kind of shoes. So in Dallas and also in Portland and Manhattan and Brooklyn, some of these bigger places with lots of city people, if you would say, do you have a water bottle? It would be like asking you, have you ever driven a car? It would do kind of it's a good question, but there are so many water bottles. And I tend to keep water next to me. Like right now I have a nice big glass and I put a couple ice cubes in it. And when I created the ice, I'm actually a creator of ice art. Now you make the ice cubes. I just put into little squares a couple slices of lemon, just a little tiny slice. So when it freezes, the little piece of lemon is embedded in the ice. So when you put the ice cubes in your glass, it has a little bit of a citrus taste without having to have sugary lemonade or a soda or something. But yeah, I tend to like glasses, but when I go out, I have several water bottles. I don't have to remind myself because I'm always thirsty. But yeah, I know that there's some people that don't drink enough water, and they have timers on their watch. They have it on their calendar. Like, I guess we've really come a long way where we have to remind ourselves to drink water. But you're right. The modern animal who lives in the city in a big building.
You said animal. I thought about a cat, because I have a cat and you had a cat. I mean, can you share any tips for keeping cats cool in hot temperatures? Because sometimes we get like really hot too as well, and they don't like. My cats are indoor cats, and I don't think they like the hot weather very much.
Well, they're probably going to not like this, but either do it yourself or take it to a groomer and get a haircut. Like even if it's a long-haired cat, or like my cats are usually short-haired cats, but still imagine that you never combed your hair. It would mat up on your head and be awful. So there are these special combs you can get for cats that pull like the dead fur under the hair. So either take it to a groomer and get it groomed to take down some of the hair, and then just put like every time you go into the kitchen, I would drop two ice cubes into a bowl. Because one of the things about cat owners, there's good cat owners and there's irresponsible cat owners. Because good cat owners, they wash the cat's bowl every day. They put ice cubes and fresh water there. But some people I've seen the water bowls for their cats. I go, when's the last time you changed this? They go, it's just a cat. They never change the water. They just keep dumping more water in. Like, how would you like to drink water from a glass that has never been washed in like 4 weeks?
No, I wouldn't like. If I were a cat, I wouldn't like it at all.
Yeah, so it sounds like you really care for your cat, which is great. And I would just, they're getting hot. And also if you have air conditioning or fans in your place, all that's drying out.
They don't like fan. I think they don't like that much the fan. But my cat personally, she finds some kind of cool surface, and she gets filled up on it. I ask her, what are you doing here? It's like the colder place in the building, and she seems okay.
Oh yeah, there was a cat that I visit. Well, I visited my daughter up in Portland, and they had this cat that loved to get on the top of the refrigerator because it was sort of a small space between there and the ceiling, and no one could really see the cat up there, and it was kind of cool. And sometimes we couldn't find the cat. We were like kind of go looking around the place looking for the cat. It would be up on top of the refrigerator in this cool, dark area. But you know, if you think of,
that
go ahead.
Ernest Hemingway's short story, Cat in the Rain?
Oh
Yeah,
yes, the Hemingway story.
I think I've seen a few translations to Russian, but I think maybe I should do my own.
Yes, and I think you know we've talked off and on over this past year about translations because some people translate poetry or prose or a play word for word. So when you read it in another language, it doesn't make any sense. But some people try to capture the essence of what the person's talking about and stay close to the wording. That type of translation translates better. And I like to do translations. I have, I think one of our subscribers, his name is Maywar. I'm sorry if I forgot. He might be like Uzbeki or he might be in Azerbaijan or someplace like that. But he comes from a literary family and he has been translating some of the works of his father into English. And he's also translating things from Arabic into English, and sometimes he's making the translation so his native language is not English. But I've traveled in the Middle East and I know something about that culture. So some of his poems or little writings, I would make a translation that would read really well to English speakers and still capture the spirit of what he's trying to say. But yeah, I think for Cat in the Rain, you should do your own translation. And I think it's a neat experience or experiment.
Hey, and not to change the subject, by the way, I love that expression because it allows you to segue into like everything else. And still you're like not apologizing, I say not to change the subject, but I thought, back to Cat in the Rain. I thought that, do you think that Hemingway was a kind of a little bit misogynist? Because I can't stop thinking about the expression, that words that husband said to his wife in that story, Cat in the Rain. Like he said, shut up and read something. I would have never ever said that to the woman I love. But why? I mean, why would anybody say that to a woman he loves or leaves?
It is an expression. They're married and they're not in their own country. They're in actually Hemingway himself did that trip, but in the story, the Cat in the Rain, it takes place in Italy. But I think what that expression "shut up" means, just stop annoying me. Don't go on and on about your hair. Don't go on and on about you wish you had your own table. You know, just could you just please do something? I'm reading. So he doesn't really mean shut up. What he really means is like,
that's exactly what I was thinking about when you said that you don't have to translate word by word, because there has to be a meaning to
yes.
I don't know, a subtext to the words they say to each other, and it doesn't have to be like verbatim "shut up" translated to Russian.
Right. The other thing is I don't exactly know because Hemingway wrote many, 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 many stories, and his stories, some of them were done originally on a typewriter. Some of them might have originally been written in pencil. They were submitted to an editor and then sent to a publisher. So 3 or 4 different eyes got to look at those words before they come on to a book or the screen. So we don't know unless we see the original handwritten notes of Hemingway. Did he actually write the word "shut up," or did one of his editors think, let's just do that? So when you work with an editor,
No, I don't think editors. I don't think editors could either change the story.
Yes,
Author
they can.
originally.
I'm telling you, that's why people have editors, because writers don't just write perfect pieces. They write something, then they get an editor, and then they get a publisher. So I have worked as an editor for lots and lots of people. I've edited thousands of pieces and submitted the person who owns the text, the original writing, then they submit it to Hollywood or they submit it to Scribner's. So what I'm saying is, let's suppose you're going to translate Cat in the Rain. I'm saying I'm not sure where the original Cat in the Rain came from. Was it published after he died? Was it found in a drawer? And this is one of his unpublished stories. So, there's a lot of people, like Borges is meticulous about his words, and Flannery O'Connor is meticulous about her words. Short story writers are especially fond of specific words. But even in a short story like Cat in the Rain, I think if you do your own translation, that it'll be great, and you can give it your own kind of read, twist or interpretation.
Somehow that story spoke to me. I don't even know, for no particular reason. I can't just pinpoint that exactly, but I don't know. Do you think that his wife, there were two American wife and American husband, who was the happier?
Oh, they're miserable together.
But that's tragic, isn't it?
No, what I'm saying, it's set in the time when women were starting to. It was acceptable to smoke cigarettes in public. It was acceptable to have like a loose dress that stopped at your knees. It was acceptable for women to have short hair, to play tennis. So it was the beginning of the movement to vote. It was the beginning of some women's freedoms. And in the story, she's touching the back of her neck. He's sitting on the bed reading. She's touching the back of the neck and saying, like, I would like to have my hair long. Again, I kind of want to like put it up, or she's touching the back of her neck. And he's just saying, I really like it. So what he means is, you're fashionable, you're stylish, everyone thinks you're great. Like, will you stop obsessing about your hair? And that's another way in which he's saying, shut up. What he means is, you're in style. I love it. You look great. But see, that's not exactly what he says, And she keeps saying, like, I just want to have my own table, and I want to have my own dinner set, and I wish I had a cat. So she wants to be more settled. And here they are on this adventure in another country. And she just wants to be a little more settled. But, expatriates are living the life, eating and drinking and dancing and going to places. And, in a lot of these stories, they're quite bored and empty people. Well, Fitzgerald was writing about that in The Great Gatsby.
Yeah, I don't know. When I think of that story, I always think that the husband or wife, I don't know who was happier of them, but then I think, speaking of men and women in general, are women being happier than men, or is it vice versa? I don't know.
In that story, I think he was content. He's with his pretty wife. She's very stylish. He's just kind of resting on the bed. Maybe they're just taking some time off resting before they go out later, because they're not just going to stay in their hotel room. I think he's content. She is not content. She is not happy. She's kind of frustrated. And she wants to go out and get that cat. She doesn't want to just stand in the room. I think she's frustrated, and I think he's content. So in that specific story, I think he's fine. And about relationships, I don't ever think that a man and a woman, or if it's two guys, or if it's two women, or whatever, in a relationship, I don't think two people are on the same page most of the time. Like, sometimes the wife is happy and the man is just like, I can't believe we're spending all this money. or sometimes it's a newly married couple, and you know, she wants to have a baby. It's like, not now. Once we have a kid, we'll never be able to do anything. You know, it's very hard for men and women to be on the same page at the same time.
Yeah. Also, they were traveling together, and for me, maybe my personal view is that I'm an introvert, right? And I don't know. I find that solo traveling I prefer that. Yeah, I prefer going solo.
I've actually traveled. I've actually traveled, and I felt like I was solo.
Could
Because
you
I want
expand on that?
no, what I mean is this. Okay, so we're going to London, and I want to go to some museums. I want to see some old castles. I want to walk along the Thames River. I want to think about the poetry of William Blake. And at the time, my husband just wanted to get back to the room so he could watch the news on TV. Like, what the F are we doing in London if we're sitting in the hotel room watching TV about America? But that was what he liked to do. He liked to just hang out in the hotel room and watch the news. Like, I would be standing at the window, staring out the window, very frustrated. And another time we went to Acapulco. It's a fabulous city. Restaurants, nightclubs, guys diving off cliffs. It's like, it was such an amazing city. And, like 7 o'clock at night, we're back in the hotel room, he's watching the news. Like, and it has to be loud enough that like no one can do anything else. Like, it's very hard to travel. It's hard to travel even with a friend. And like, I don't mind going out to eat by myself. I don't mind going to a movie by myself. I don't mind it, because you can just do what you want.
I haven't traveled. I haven't been traveling for a while. I haven't traveled for a year or two. Yeah, since the pandemic started, I think. And I don't know. Maybe I should go sit in the dark or sit on the bed for a minute to review my poor life choices. Because some people obviously traveling.
I don't know. Like one of our subscribers, Michael, who's in Albuquerque. I mean, I know that you're not going to get on a plane and go to Albuquerque, but wouldn't it be fun for you to go?
I would love to, because one of my all-time favorite TV shows is Breaking Bad, and that was filmed in Albuquerque.
That's what I'm saying. I think that like it doesn't have to be going to Rome or London. You can go to like Albuquerque, or I like dry desert mountains, and I like dry heat is okay. But I went on a trip for about 3 weeks up to Portland, Oregon, and I hadn't traveled since the beginning of the pandemic. And there were on the plane and in the airports, there's a lot of delays. I always carry food with me, and I always have drinks with me. But there were a lot of people who were just starting to fly again. Going to see their relatives, or going to a wedding, or going for the birth of a baby. And there were a lot of people traveling and flying, and we were just sometimes stuck in lines together. So I was just make small talk with the people around me, and people felt like they've been really had their life taken away from them during the pandemic, because because no one could do anything.
If I had a choice and I would have an opportunity to go to Albuquerque, I would, I would be like, if the custom agent, I don't know who those people who ask you questions at the airport when you visit in the country there. What's your purpose of your visit? I would have said, I want to see Walter White's house. That Walter White is the movie star that you show. Like, I even remember the address. 3828 Piermont, I guess.
Yes.
I don't know. And then I would actually I would have liked to visit all them houses where the movie stars, the main characters live. The Hank Shredders, Saul Goodman, Carl Walker boat. Have you watched any of these episodes of Breaking Bad?
Oh yeah, yes, I have. And also Some of the sets are artificial and they're made with like a hammer and nail and wood and plastic and windows. So some of them are actual locations and some of them are television sets. So I'm thinking that you should get together with Michael, who visits restaurants. He's told us before that his wife works during the day and he works at night. And this is some of the secrets of his successful marriage. I'm thinking you should go stay at Michael's house. Just tell Michael's wife, hi, I'm here. I'm Michael's friend and I'm here to explore Breaking Bad. And, how are you today? she would probably wonder what's up. But yeah, I think it would be great to visit, some different places.
I've never ever heard the Albuquerque is that. I know that I've never even known that there is such town, but now I think it really cemented Albuquerque as a place in the filmmaking world because of Breaking Bad. They did such a great job of selecting locations and stuff.
I have driven through there. I was going to Pecos, New Mexico, and I was in Houston, and I had just gotten a divorce, and my kids were with their dad for the summer, and I had just gotten a new car. So I've got with one of my church friends, Berna, and we got in the car, and that Laverne and Shirley movie. Well, anyhow, we got in this new car that I bought, and we drove out of Houston up through Dallas. We drove and drove and drove and drove and drove, and we drove through Albuquerque, and then we drove into New Mexico, and we stayed for 10 days at a place in New Mexico, and then we drove back, and it was great. It was.
Is there any difference between Texas? Sorry to interrupt, but I really want to know if there was. To me, New Mexico is Texas and are the same.
No, because Texas is a huge state. And it has oil, it has cotton, it has fruit, it has vegetables, it has a shipping port. So the port of Houston is a major port. So ships from Russia and Sweden and Denmark and China come into the port of Houston. Houston is oil rich. Texas is like its own country. New Mexico is dry and it's mountainous and it's hot. There's no port. There's no cotton fields. Like it is not a very rich state, and there's quite a bit of poverty there. But there's a lot of natural beauty. But both places have some cactus, and both places have some places to go drink beer. But New Mexico doesn't have lots of private colleges, universities, research centers, museums. It's kind of remote. But you can still love it.
That's a good synopsis. No, I didn't realize that in terms of the economy-wise, like Texas is far ahead of New Mexico.
Yeah, and here we have huge cities with huge skyscrapers. Then also in Dallas, we have lakes, we have rivers, we have bicycle trails, we have the arts are funded, and even private artists will get like $500 to paint on a wall. Let's suppose somebody is opening up a new restaurant. It's a brick building, and they want some art on the outside of the brick building. They'll pay an artist $500 to create art. So if you're an artist and you're a musician in Dallas, you can make a living. So you can have a family, you can have kids, and you can make a living if you're playing shows all the time, you're doing concerts, if you're out there, you can make a living. In New Mexico, there's a lot of poverty, and there isn't, Santa Fe is a beautiful place. Georgia O'Keeffe painted there, and it's very remote, and there's some, like Taos is a ski center. But you know, if there's no snow, Taos is not, making any money off of tourists. Like, I mean, we also have beaches. It's not like the Riviera, but yeah, the economy and the richness of the natural resources make Texas a premier state for people to go to. No one's thinking of going to New Mexico. If you want to go there and buy a house, you'll probably find a good one. I mean, El Paso it's very, very far west on the way to California. So El Paso is very much like New Mexico, dry, long, long roads with nothing on them, desert, cactus, and a little roadrunner bird running across trying to find something to eat. So, yeah, El Paso, the downtown in El Paso has a few museums, and they have a few old, wealthy families that have money, but there's a lot of poverty, not much of a middle class, but the old world wealth is there, like old landowners are there.
Well, you said about something about making a living. I thought when I was a child, I thought that when I would grow up, all the work would have been done by the robots. And my teacher in school, he would talk indefinitely about how great the job market would be for my generation and stuff. But I don't know. It seems to only getting worse. Because I don't know, it shouldn't be this damn hard to make a living in this life, but it's still, does.
Yes, and there were tons and tons of people that came from other countries to the United States on engineering scholarships, mechanical engineering scholarships, civil engineering, and they trained to be engineers with the purpose of going back to their country, only to find out that America was the land of milk and honey, and why would they want to go back to their own country? So from some of these countries that sent young men and women to Texas or the United States, a lot of them just stayed here and married here. But I just know that all these engineers, very talented engineers from very good schools, all of a sudden couldn't find jobs because there were too many of them. And then, let's say you're 30 years old and you've spent all your life trying to get to America and get a degree and go to work. All of a sudden you can't even find a job. I know that my ex-husband ended up, he was working for Schlumberger for a while, but not as an engineer. He was doing mathematical pipeline analysis for pipes under the sea. So even though he was trained as a mechanical engineer, he wasn't doing that. He was doing math. Because the mechanical engineers, there were too many of them.
Yeah, same applies to lawyers, because I've given up my practice, but still I never thought that, I never dreamed that at 50 I'd be still living paycheck to paycheck. But not the economics here, but I think that the problem of what is going on, I'm generalizing here, is the debt. I think because how can I put that into words?
We're used to living on
we remember before, 50 years ago. I'm not sure about how it was in the USA, but I think it was like that most people lived in in small homes and eating normal amount of meals, and everybody avoided debt. But now everyone's into debt up to his ears.
Oh, yeah. Well, for example, my grandparents' generation, that's just 2 generations behind me, My grandfather had one car. He had paid for his house before the marriage. They got married and moved into a house that was paid off. He would visit his sisters and help them with things. One of the famous things about my grandfather was that when he died, his checkbook balanced and he owed no one anything. So, he worked hard. He went to church. He was involved in the Italian American Society. My grandmother played cards. She went to little parties. They socialized. They went out drinking and dancing, but they weren't in debt. And then my generation, my mother married my father. We traveled the whole world where the military was paying for everything. Like we were staying in the Istanbul Hilton. We were staying on the Riviera. I mean, we went everywhere. So when my father got out of the military and came back to San Antonio, and now he's still got to go to work and he's got 6 kids. What he did was, I'm out of here. I'm just going to leave y'all. I'm going to go get a different wife and we're going to go do stuff. But, and then, in my generation, I try to keep things modest. Like I can have a lot of fun on not too much money, but everyone's in debt. And a couple of my friends.
My point exactly, because we are taught to fall into the traps of you need credit to build credit. When I finished law school, I thought that's a bullshit.
Exactly. And we've also become used to very fancy things. Like I used to drink Canadian Club when I was in college. Canadian Club is a Canadian whiskey. It tastes good. Or Seagram 7. It's about $12, $13 a bottle now. Now I'm drinking Maker's Mark, which is about, $30 or $40 a bottle. But I really like Knob Creek, which is about $50 a bottle. But my taste has become used to more expensive things. And if you go to a nice restaurant, you don't want to just leave $1 for a tip. You've got to leave. You have to leave a good tip, otherwise you look like a cheapskate. And we've become used to a lifestyle that we can't even afford. Yeah,
You mentioned Canadian whiskeys. I didn't even know such thing existed. Is Maker's Mark Canadian?
Maker's Mark is I think it's Kentucky. Maker's Mark. Let me see. I just so happen to I always have my water and my bottle of whiskey near me. I know I sound like an alcoholic, but okay, what does it say on here? Yeah, this is Kentucky Straight Bourbon. And it comes out.
You just mentioned Canadian whiskey and Maker's Mark. I thought, is it Canadian?
No, Maker's Mark is a little bit more expensive. Canadian Club. I don't know. I mean, just think about what you drink. What were you drinking in college and what are you drinking now? How have your tastes changed?
Well, it hasn't changed much. But the only requirement I have is to not feel a hangover first and feel good while you're drinking it second.
But I'm saying most guys and girls in college are just mainly drinking beer, But
I told you before, like I would have liked Jack Daniels and the rocks, but not on the rocks or with soda, mixed with soda. The first one we were in Amsterdam, I think. It's I forgot what country's capital is. Amsterdam is Netherlands or Danish. I don't remember. Can you go? Yeah. I apologize. That sounds like I'm stupid next to you. I don't remember what Amsterdam is the capital of. But still, we stayed at that hotel, and I had that Jack Daniels mixed with soda. And since I must admit, I still like it.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm looking on my computer at this website about Albuquerque. It's considered to be an oasis in the high desert. So it is high elevation, and it's also kind of a rare place to go. So I remember another time I flew up there, I flew with my daughter. We were looking at colleges. Was it Albuquerque? We were someplace in New Mexico. Anyhow, we're looking at some colleges, and the change in elevation was so different from Houston, because Houston's kind of at sea level, that you get like nauseated when you get off the plane, and then the air is so dry that like we felt sick because we had been living in Houston where it's super humid all the time. But back to your question about the Netherlands. I don't know, just I remember going through Amsterdam, and I just recall it was like the drug capital of Europe. But
and also diamonds, I think diamonds capital.
oh, really?
Yeah. You know what's interesting, that Albuquerque and Alberta, it starts the same. Speaking of Canadian whiskey, of course, 'cause I don't know, I can't stop thinking of Canadian whiskey, like some kind of Alberta Daniels, or I don't know.
Yeah.
I would have loved to try that.
Yeah. Wow, this looks like fun.
How does that make you feel? Are you upset? Or how do you feel about that?
I feel great. I'm looking at this website about things to do in Amsterdam. There's this a church that has been converted into a nightclub, and the Rolling Stones, the Sex Pistols, all these different great groups have gone through there. Amsterdam is things you cannot miss. There's like 30 places. There's 31 fun things to do. I feel excited. What else? I'm also
Do you know what is you've been to Amsterdam?
Yes.
Yeah, because I remember I was out out of my hotel at that night, and I visited the red light district. There is such an area, and everybody was drunk, but nobody fights. And I thought, if that happened in Russia, there would be blood here. But
Really?
they were so friendly. Yeah, like 1,000 men, drunk to excess. Also, that women like prostitutes legalized behind the windows, but nobody drunk. Oh, nobody fought. Sorry.
Well, because that's their job.
Yeah.
They have to be interested in charming.
No.
Well,
I'm not talking about women. I'm talking about men who was drunk, like the visitors, like me. Everybody had something, but nobody fought each other.
Well, I know that in New Orleans, Louisiana, there's kind of a red light district, and it's really famous. And also, you can drink on the streets. So, public drinking in Texas is illegal. You're not supposed to drink and drive, and you're not supposed to be walking around the streets drinking. So that means if you want to drink, you have to be inside a bar, you have to be on a patio. You can't just be like standing on the streets drinking. But in New Orleans, you can drink, and also in this one area, there are all these ladies that will come, they're kind of wearing like lingerie, little outfits like that. And they're hanging out of these windows, kind of waving and laughing. And it's a tourist attraction, but I mean, it's also a real place. And Preservation Hall is down there, which is one of the origins of jazz in the United States. And I remember in Frankfurt, there was a place called Sachsenhausen, was the red light district, because as a teenager, we would go on sketching field trips with our art teacher. And so I had like a little map where I could look at different places where we were going. We did not go sketching in Sachsenhausen, but I was very interested in that.
Yeah, that was a red light district in Amsterdam, was a place when I first tried marijuana, maybe even mushrooms, I don't remember, but everything was legal. Because I've never liked to bother with the illegal stuff. Yeah, and those women behind the glass, I didn't like them. I don't know why, they just didn't seem attractive.
You prefer a woman not in a glass? Well, in San Francisco, they have a restaurant where the women are on these swings. They're wearing like a little red and white outfit, and they're swinging above you as you eat steak dinner. Like, I would not like to be a woman on a swing. I would not. I would think it'd be difficult for a man to focus on his steak dinner while there's a woman up above him, on a swing. But this is all the tourist business, and they also had these contests, like in 10 minutes, how much steak can you eat? So there's some other places, I think they're in somewhere in Texas, I forget where it is. It's a famous steakhouse. And they had these contests. So like all these huge guys will go in there and they put these big, huge steaks on their plate. And whoever can eat the most steak is the winner. How much steak do you think you could eat in 10 minutes?
I wouldn't even try. Honestly, I don't understand such kind of competitions. I don't think men should do it. Men should do that because that's not what men are for.
Oh, this is Texas though. Texas is over the top. Like, we have a state fair. The state fair is coming up in September, end of September, beginning of October, and there's a big character that his name is Big Tex, and he's created from like paper mache and wires and whatnot, and year after year after year after year after year, people go to the state fair and they get their picture taken with Big Tex, and it's kind of like a tradition. But eating the most steak and having the biggest truck and having the best gun, that's kind of Texas.
The gun and the truck, I can relate, but eating like who eats most or who is the fastest eater, I don't understand. Yeah, can you go to steakhouse and I don't know, order a chicken?
Why would you do that? It'd be like going to a Mercedes dealer and ask if you could look at some Jags.
I don't know, just asking.
Okay, I'm sorry, I was really mean. No, there's no chicken at the steakhouses. None that I've been to.
Can you prepare a steak of your own like really well?
Yeah, I got this iron skillet. Some people cook outside on a grill, but I have this iron skillet. Somebody gave me that as a gift for Valentine's Day. I said, "You love me?" And he said, "No, I iron skillet you." So it's this big cast iron skillet, and you heat it up pretty hot, put a little tiny bit of oil down, a little bit, and then I like to throw in like garlic and rosemary, and then you throw the steak down and you sear it. Then you flip it over and you sear the other side, and then you pull it off the fire and just let it sit. And then you serve it, and you can serve it medium rare. But I'm not even really a big steak person. But
No. I'm asking because I was wondering if you have all the utensils and stuff, because it's probably cheaper to go to a steakhouse and order a steak, because buying and cooking buying an expensive cut and of beef, right, and cooking it at home. I think it assumes that you have all the technical skills and the equipment and time to spend on it. I don't know, if you make a mistake cooking your steak and you're out of luck, then.
Well, this person that I was eating steak with, he was a chef for 27 years. But during the pandemic, all the restaurants were closed. So he retrained as a locksmith, changing locks. So I just met him he just happened to be changing locks at all these apartment complexes. And I asked him, "So are you actually really a locksmith?" He goes, "No, I'm a chef." So he figured out that I had no steak knives. He bought me some steak knives, and sometimes he would come over and he'd bring me steaks, and then he had an hour and a half off for lunch. So I'd make steaks and we'd just drink tequila and eat steak for lunch. But you can't always count on a locksmith being a chef.
Why? I mean, a career? He had a career as a locksmith. Is that what you said?
No, his career was a chef. He was a cook, and his brother owned a restaurant. So he was maybe, I don't know, 54, 53, something like that. But during the pandemic, all the restaurants closed. hotels were closed, bars were closed. So anybody that was in the service industry of cooking or serving, they had no job for 2 years, 18 months. No one had the savings to live for 18 months. So when the pandemic, he had a couple, 2, 3 kids. And so he had his brother's restaurant, they were only doing takeout, and then no one could come inside. It couldn't take alcohol out. So he had to do something. So he quickly did an online course to learn how to change locks on doors and went and bought a couple tools. And this apartment complex that I live in is owned by some Chicago landlords. It's a corporate, and they own lots and lots of buildings around East Dallas. So he was hired through a management office here to change the locks on several different, like there were 350 units where I live, and then the one next door is 250. So he was the locksmith.
Yeah, well, it's just that he got lucky because he met you. Because all these service jobs, I never understood them. Cause I think they could be a nightmare because it really depends, like who do you work for or who do you service. Because also, I don't know if they have to have a license because all these modern locks, they don't have just the key, they have codes and stuff.
Yeah, he learned he learned different types. Like we used to have a plain lock with a metal key, but they changed it all to this electronic weird rubber lock that can be, the main office can shut you out of your own apartment through punching one button.
So where is he now? What is he doing now?
Oh, he went back to his wife. No.
Are you sure?
I don't know.
Can you get him to subscribe and ask him a personal?
No. His wife hates me. No, I asked him I said, well, if you're married, are you married? He goes, well, let's make some steaks. I go, well, if you're married, I'm not going to mess with you. He goes, well, I'm divorced. And that was true. But he didn't tell me that he was divorced and then remarried. The only thing I knew is he was divorced. So this only lasted about a month. And then it's like a crazy story, but
I mean, what you have just said, I have to have like a flow chart to keep track of that. I really didn't understand a word, except for remarried, divorced, and I don't know what else.
Steaks. 10 minutes.
Yeah.
No, what I'm saying.
That like remarried stuff like really got me kicked me going.
Well, the thing about changing jobs when you're 50 years old or when you're 40 years old, or like my friend David Anton, he is a born salesman. He also could have gone to law school, but the rents are going up, and the current place where his boss is renting this fabulous showroom, David can do the same work at home from a computer. So he's going to be leaving the showroom, but he has credit cards. He has some credit card debt. So he will, if he segues into another job, it'll be sales because he can sell anything. If you're going to segue into a different job, what would you like to segue into? Because this other guy segued from being a chef just to changing locks. He'd been a chef for 27 years. He was a locksmith for like 2 months.
Yeah, I don't know. I've told you that I dreamed about becoming a librarian and also an architect and baker. But how do you decide when to switch jobs? I don't know, because jumping jobs, I don't know.
Well, the thing is, he was forced to. You were, during the pandemic, still got a salary and you could work from home. So it was a mixed blessing. Like lawyers, people who were in the big offices could still make money because they could do their work from home. But surgeons, like my daughter's a surgeon, and she, and her husband is an anesthesiologist. They were both doctors. The federal government shut down all non-necessary surgery. So they were doctors. They could have worked on COVID patients, but they were just sitting at home collecting their salary. They were growing tomatoes and vegetables and cooking. They were just at home. And these were two talented surgeons. But, they were on staff at a hospital, so they were still getting paid. If you become a librarian, first of all, I wanted to become a librarian because I thought being a librarian was going to be about books and talking to people about books. But when I was studying, I took about 2 or 3 semesters worth of courses. They were just going into electronic stuff like microfiche and microfilm and scanners and stuff like that. I did not want to spend my time looking at computer screens and microfiche and all this stuff. I wanted to talk to people about books. So I didn't go into library science, although I took many courses. What I think you should, what I think you should do is I think you should open up your own business. It can be called
there are numerous advantages of staying with my current employer.
That's what I'm saying. You've got your health care.
Also, mm-hmm.
I mean, but if you had your own business, suppose you have your own business and it has library books and it has bakery and it has coffee and people love coming there, and you can hire some cute girls or guys to work there. And then every day you just go in and sit in your bakery and smell the bread and drink coffee. Wouldn't that be fun?
That would be fun. That would be.
It
fun.
would be.
Then again, even if we're sitting here talking about that, I already said no to myself because I don't know. Maybe that's the reason we don't achieve things we want to, because we somehow self-sabotage ourselves.
Yeah, because it's actually safer for you to do your long commute and you have your insurance and you have your beautiful building and all the beautiful people in even though it's you're kind of slave to your job, it's guaranteed. You know what you're going to get. I don't know if you get paid once or twice a month, but the money is direct deposit into your bank, right? Whether you're working or not. Like you could be goofing off, or you could take a lunch break, but as long as you get your work done, no one's actually watching you. You're actually happy. You're actually happy. You don't know it.
What does let's talk about you. Let's talk about you. What does your self-sabotage look like?
If there's something amazing that I can do. For example, a couple of years ago, I was invited to, you and I had done some writing together. And I had a lot of different poems. I had a lot of different stories. And I had a bookstore contact me. The name of it was called Wild Detectives. It's a bookstore that has little coffee and drinks, and they have readings. And I thought I was going to go do a reading of some of the poems and things we had written. But I didn't want to just look out into the audience. I wanted someone to go with me. And my daughters were living in other states, and David Anton said, sit still and listen to you read poems? Hell no. And then a couple other people I asked, they go, no, we hear you talk all the time. We're not going. So I was afraid that I would be unsuccessful. So I canceled that. And then right now I'm planning to do this fall fashion show at this farmer's market. I'll be like an event coordinator. So there are 40 different vendors that are selling honey and canoes and soaps and tomatoes, vegetables. All the vendors are there. The organizers are going to provide the sound system and the stage. I can choose all the models. It's only going to be 15 minutes before the market opens. I can get invitations made for free, but I feel anxious about it and I don't want to do it. But I've already rehearsed a few things, like why don't we do it in the spring? But I've already got it on a calendar, October 14th. The weather's beautiful in Dallas then. I have a bunch. I ran into this couple at this bar a weekend or so ago. The girls were very, very pretty and very nice looking. And they were with a guy that had a hat and a nice little suit. And I made some chit chat with them. And I found out the guy's French. He's a diamond salesman. And I don't know, sometimes I'm just afraid to be who I actually am. So I just do dumb stuff. or Kim.
Can you like, I think, well, from what you have just said, I think that whenever you get something you want, you either get sad or you might be, if it's not the case, maybe you, before you get what you want, you isolate yourself from everybody and push everyone away until you can be alone with your thoughts. And those thoughts aren't usually good.
Exactly. But then when I see people again, they remember something amazing I'm doing, and they're so happy to see me, and they're buying me a drink, and they're asking me what I'm doing, and I just say something like, I flew to Portland. And then they'll say, oh my God, that's so amazing. Or I'll say, I'm interviewing so-and-so about a book about trains that we're writing. And the thing is, that's not a lie. And then the very simple sentences create all this interest around me. And then people invite me to do things, and then I don't want to go. It's awful. It's really, really awful. Like, for example, David Anton invited me to see the Rolling Stones, November, not this year, but the year before. The Rolling Stones were starting their tour after the pandemic in Dallas, Texas, in the Cotton Bowl. 45,000 people. This was near the end of the pandemic. He had gotten free tickets. They were like $350 tickets. He'd gotten 2 tickets from his aunt and uncle. He called a bunch of friends to go with him. They didn't want to go because they thought it might rain. And he invited me to go. I go, I can't climb up 1,000 stairs. Like, it's not going to be fun. He goes, this is a once in a lifetime experience. And I'd never been to the Cotton Bowl, where it's a very famous stadium. So he just said, well, come over. We did a couple shots of Maker's Mark. He drank a Red Bull. We got on the DART transportation thing. We went there. It was fabulous, but only because he's my friend did he talk me into it. Because I was already telling him, like, I can't do it. It's going to be too much walking. It might rain. But it's the Rolling Stones, like, wouldn't you like to see Metallica or Rammstein or whatever bands you like?
Yeah, well, this happens to me too.
How so?
Well, I've just had this thought in my mind when you asked me how so it disappeared. Can that be like a long COVID symptom or something?
No, I think you're close to something that was actually really true, and so your mind shuts it off. That's a
it's really funny because I was about to tell you something of why that happens to me too, and then you say how so, which was completely like I wasn't expecting that at that moment, but I was going to tell you anyway, but then you interrupt me and say how so it, and the thought disappears. It's like a hypnosis, or I don't know, some kind of a programming. Like some people, they say there is a ring, the phone rings, you ask, you pick up the phone and you say hello, and they tell you something like a code on the other side, and you go and jump out the window. You ever heard of that, Kathy?
Well, I'm only on the 2nd floor, so it won't be too bad.
No, but that happens to me just like I was pre-coded and you just aired that code, like how so, and my mind went empty. I don't know how it works.
Yeah, I know. Like sometimes I'll be getting ready to say something, and it's like on the tip of my tongue, and I completely forget what it was. Just absolutely forget what it was.
I think that long COVID is to blame, because I've heard that there is a study, I'm sure there are a few of them, which says long COVID is a real thing.
Oh, yeah, I know it is. It is. There's a kind of a sort of friend. His name is Tucker, and he has blue hair. He's an environmental protection federal lawyer. And he got COVID, but he was working from home, and he has a family, and he was struggling with some family stuff. And his doctor prescribed Adderall or something that's supposed to keep him awake because he's trying to go to sleep, but he's trying to work from home. And now his brain's just like fried. But by fried, I mean, I'll run into him and he loves to tell stories and talk, but sometimes he'll come up to me and he'll say, God, there was something I was going to tell you, but I forgot what it was. I go, okay, thanks, Tucker. Like, he socializes in a couple places around you. And he's a really nice person, but he was really mad because when he had to go back to work, he couldn't have his hair blue. How do you think that would work in your building? Blue hair.
I don't think it would work. I think it wouldn't. But speaking of a long COVID and stuff, I think my short-term memory is gone. I'm like 10 seconds Roman now.
No, I agree that your short-term memory is impaired because sometimes, like we made an episode about bridges, we interviewed Mark Stevens, we talked about beer, we talked about something else, and I'll send you the cover shot, and you go, "What were we going to talk about?" I go,
No.
talking about-
Oddly enough, my visual memory still works, as it still seems fine, even though my verbal memory isn't what it used to be.
"Oh, you can't
Sometimes
find the
I
word."
just mess with you. Sometimes I wanna like mess with you. What do you mean? And you start expanding yourself on like I'm stupid. Like, but I'm just I don't know.
I know sometimes you do that, and I keep thinking like, God, because we were in 3 different time zones. You know, you're in one country, Mark is up in Michigan, I'm down here in Texas. I'm trying to coordinate, and then then you go, "What? When are we doing that?"
Yeah, because I was gonna see a reaction. I know that you and Mark, you both of you, especially you considered it important, and I was gonna just pick you up on that and see what you're gonna say. Like, what are you talking about? Because like.
Yeah.
But I knew I prepared. I booked a conference room and I set up my equipment, which isn't like many these days. Because I used to be a year ago, I had to have my computer and cables and microphones and whatnot. But now I only have a phone.
Yeah, and it's so great. And I know that Mark really liked the new setup, and he found it the quality good, and it was a really great experience. He's got his notes to go for this week coming up. I think we're gonna do a little bit more on that Blue Water Bridge. Then he's super excited to talk about South Park, and it's amazing to think of how change in technology has happened just within a year or so. We're talking about 10 minutes, but we went from 1 year where you're like covered in wires and microphones to you just walk around with your phone and you just can record stuff. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. Also, I'm not sure who you've been blackmailing about our channel to subscribe and stuff, but we have 81 subscribers as of this
We
morning.
have 81?
Mm-hmm. I thought that was your work.
Yeah, I bet you $1 that I could get 1 subscriber this weekend, and I didn't even go to the club.
So have you ever blackmailed anybody about being our subscriber or being blackmailed yourself?
The word blackmail means I have privilege to information that can be used against you if you don't do something I want you to do.
Okay.
So it doesn't always involve money like extortion. But there were a couple people that came back into MeWe world, and I realized they would become a subscriber. So I said, "Hey, y'all, what would you think about, we're trying to get 100 subscribers this summer. You can make that happen." And so a couple fishes took the bait. And I thought just one person subscribed. I thought I was up to like 80. There's 81? Wow. So
yeah,
one guy...
There is 81, yeah. But can you ask you something else? Because I need to know.
It's not blackmail.
Yeah, it is. Because I thought, have you ever, yes or no, have you ever sent a letter to George W. Bush or Barack Obama?
I've sent letters to the National Council of Future Lawyers, pressuring them into giving my daughter a scholarship.
Okay, I was just gonna mess with you, but it didn't work. I apologize.
I mean, sometimes you have to use, I mean, blackmail's not a bad thing. I get what I want, right? I didn't hurt anyone.
That's not a blackmail to anybody. I think it sucks to have somebody who can ruin your life any moment.
Well, I'm not ruining anybody's life. They get to listen to trauma therapy.
Well, yes, you are. Because if they, okay, whatever.
Now, this one guy, he lives in Germany and he has a sailboat, and he recently bumped his foot on the sailboat and he had to go in for surgery. Then he had to have a cast, and he has a beautiful yacht. His name is Christian, last name begins with a W. Really great guy. We can go sailing. He's super nice. I just realized, I wonder if he's a subscriber. And I just said, hey, what would you think about listening to this channel? We're trying to get 100 subscribers. He goes, oh, okay. And then somebody else said, I don't know. I'm not really sure what that's all about. Not because of you, but because of me. Yeah. Yeah. Hello, Christian.
Do you think it's funny? Because no, I'm just thinking out loud.
It's funny because he's such a nice person, and he accidentally bumped his toe on. He has a yacht. Funny. He and his wife have I think there's a wife. Yeah, they have this yacht that they live on sometimes, and they go sailing, and he loves to cook, and he posts pictures about cooking, and he's in a MeWe community that I'm in, and he's just a great person. And then he posted something about he has to go to the hospital, but I'm not sure where he is in Germany, but the hospital he goes to, you should see the breakfast that they have. Before you check in, you get this really great breakfast with a piece of cheesecake and a fabulous coffee and fresh fruit. Like, it's nothing like the hospital you told me when you had fallen off your skateboard and you thought you were going to be surrounded by beautiful nurses and it's just a bunch of old men coughing. But, and he loves music. He's really a great person, but somehow, he hurt his foot, and then he was in a cast, and then they were going to take it out of the cast, but he had to stay in the hospital, but somebody else was in worse shape than he was, so he was sent home early. And then when he was sent home early, he accidentally bumped the cast into something, and they had to keep it up. They had to change the cast out. Just in 10 minutes, your life can completely change. Yeah, he'll probably even write some comments at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
No, I'm just, you say wife, and somehow this expression, I don't know, your wife is my wife now come to mind.
Like mi casa es su casa?
Yeah, I don't know. I like it how it sounds in Spanish. Is it in Spanish?
Mi casa es su casa. My house is your house. So when you welcome somebody to your house, you just say...
It's in Spanish, right?
Yes, casa.
Yeah, I know. My castle is your castle. Like, my home is your home. They're all these languages. I think they have one root.
One root.
Yeah, don't you think that?
The root, like a unicorn.
What?
Huh?
Oh, could be, could be. Maybe maybe the Bible story, not the Bible, the Tower of Bible stories is the truth, because the more I live, the more I see the similarities that couldn't have ever appeared out of nowhere in many languages.
Yeah, they're archetypal, universal experiences. You are not alone. You just thought you were alone. You're part of a whole world of people that have done and thought everything you're thinking.
Yeah, that's like there is a common root to all languages and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
I'm excited about you translating Cat in the Rain. I think you should do that. And I think that it'll be great.
No, why are you excited?
I like languages. I like you doing something.
No, I'm a little bit confused when you said I'm excited about you translating that Cat in the Rain into Russian. And I thought, how could that anybody get any excited? That's why I asked you, but you said, okay, you like that. That doesn't explain.
Yeah, I mean, I like that better than you're going up to the 13th floor and looking over the edge before you leave work.
Actually, it's not 13, it's 27th. Okay, sometimes it's 31st. Because there is a restaurant on the 50th, I guess, floor. But I don't like to get that high. Yeah, I don't like that restaurant much. But anyway, It's
The
safe.
27th floor. The 27th floor is where you look over.
Yeah, there are many floors, and I sometimes I just I get out of the lift or elevator at any of them, and whatever the elevator stops, and I come to up to the wall, which is basically a glass wall, and I look down and I think, what if there was no glass between me and that edge? Would I be like comfortable, or would I jump off the cliff? And how would that feel? I mean, the free fall and
I don't know.
stuff.
Now my mouth is getting dry, and I'm kind of salivating and getting anxious. I better stop.
Yeah, okay. Because I was just getting warmed up. Yeah, okay.
No, we can keep talking. I'm actually fine.
No. Now it's gone. The moment is gone.
So what
It's
we
like,
have we have 81 subscribers.
yeah, I've seen that this morning. I don't even know why I checked. I checked the comment today, Mark. I say hi to Michael, and I thank him for listening all our episodes to the very end, and that's when I noticed that.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah. Yeah, so now I owe you $1 because you were gonna bet me one.
Yeah.
Now
Okay,
I think I owe you two. Actually, I have these in my wallet. I have exactly $2 note. Do you have any $2 note in your wallet? I think it's two. I have to check on that, but yeah, let me
Thomas
see.
Jefferson's on the $2.
I don't know. I couldn't tell this guy from Adam, but I've seen the number. It says two. Because I thought Thomas Jefferson. I don't know. I thought he was the first president, but you said no. He was the treasurer.
No, Washington's the first president.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I'm not going to debate
Jefferson
that.
is the author of the Declaration of Independence. He's the primary author.
I have $2 bill. Do you want to use it as a sum for today's episode? Because I
Let's
have
do it.
$2 bill, but it doesn't say. Oh yeah, it says Jefferson. Go figure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you take a
Serious.
picture of that?
2009 series. I don't know how many there are, but yeah, I guess it has a signature on it. Yeah. The
No,
dude.
not Thomas Jefferson's. It's the current Secretary of Treasury.
Yeah, Secretary of Treasury. Yeah, but maybe it's not his signature. But anyway, it says Jefferson under his picture, and it says this note is legal tender for all debts, public and private. Don't know what that means. Anyway, I liked it. I keep it in my wallet. Oh, listen, on the flip side, there is a picture in God We Trust, and the picture, the few men.
The pyramid.
I think this Declaration of Independence, maybe they're signing the Declaration of Independence. I don't know what that means, the picture. On the flip side of the $2 note.
What if
Declaration
we did
of Independence, 1776, yeah.
Right. What about, okay, if you take a picture of that and you write on it 10 minutes, that'll be our screen for that, because we didn't really talk about that organ.
Yeah, absolutely. What organ?
The thumbnail I sent you of a huge pipe organ here in Dallas.
I didn't get any.
Yes, you did. You said, let's talk about 10 minutes. I said, okay. And you said, be ready in 10 minutes. So I took the picture. I have a picture of a pipe organ at St. Thomas Aquinas.
Let's see. Let's use your thumbnail. If
no, but I want to use. I want to use the $2 bill for another
$2
episode.
We'll use it for the next episode. It's not going anywhere. I keep it in my wallet. Yeah, for.
Should we just make an episode called Money?
Oh, yeah.
Well, what I'm saying, you take a picture of that, and then we'll talk about that maybe tomorrow, the next day.
It sounds like a plan. Yes.
Good.
But let me keep it back to my wallet because I really love it. A friend of mine who went to medical school. No. Okay, so Jefferson, his place of residence is Monticello. What? Monticello. The Jefferson's picture. He's in his 30s, I think.
Well, escúchame. So this other fellow who did residency, so my daughter is a head and neck surgeon, and he trained in head and neck, and I was up there visiting with him and with my daughter. We all went out drinking together. We do. Anyhow, after she finished her schooling, and she did medical school in Dallas and residency up in Portland and Indianapolis, anyhow, she became a head and neck surgeon. This friend of hers went to Manhattan to become a voice. He works on vocal cords. So he's in Manhattan working as a vocal cord coach or surgeon or something. His partner is a history guy. So they went to Manhattan. Now, how is this connected to Thomas Jefferson? We all went out and we talked, and he said he had something he wanted to give me. I don't know what I gave him. I gave him something. He wanted to give me this $2 bill that he's had for a long time, and he got it in Monticello, where it's the home of Thomas Jefferson. And I have my own $2 bill, but I don't know where it is. It's probably in a special place marked very special things, because I have boxes that say very special things. And then I have other boxes, very important things. Then I have another one that says fragile, don't touch. But let's do an episode on money, and you've got the money, and you've just take a picture of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not. I think, okay. Yeah, we'll do that.
We're almost out of time.